Scandinavia. Nordic countries. What's the difference? Well, Scandinavia is made up of 3 countries: Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. While the Nordic countries are described as being these 3 plus Finland, Iceland, the territories of Greenland, and the Faroe Islands. Title is a bit misleading, but it's what people are searching for. So here's Ash with the video.
In the late 14th century to the early 16th century, the 3 kingdoms of Denmark, Norway and Sweden were united under a single monarch in what was known as the Kalmar Union. The union also included what is now Finland, which was under Swedish control. At the time, Norway also controlled the overseas territories of Iceland, Greenland and the Faroe Islands. The union was not always continuous, as there were several short interruptions, but legally the countries remained separate sovereign states, with their domestic and foreign policies being directed by a common monarch. So what could happen if this union reunited today, with all the Nordic countries and territories becoming one country? In this video, we'll be looking at how powerful this country would be and how it would compare to other nations of today. If all the nations combined into one country today, it would have the land size of 3.4 million square kilometers. It would be the second biggest country in Europe, just behind Russia. It would be bigger than India and just smaller than Australia, making it the 7th biggest country in the world by land size. With such a large amount of land, you would think the population would be large as well. However, the country would only inhabit 26.9 million people. This newly formed nation would just make the top 50 in terms of population, above Angola but below Yemen. The country's language would be quite diverse, with the main languages being Danish, Swedish, Finnish, Icelandic and Norwegian. There would be a number of minor languages. But how powerful would this country be? What if it were to go up against Italy? In terms of its military, the country would possess an active frontline personnel of 98,000, with a further 355,000 working in reserve. Italy's active personnel would be much higher at 247,000, but its reserve personnel rests at only 20,000. It would also achieve a defence budget of 21 billion compared to Italy's 34 billion. The military would have access to 389 tanks, 5,197 armoured fighting vehicles, 156 self-propelled artillery, 1,021 towed artillery and 58 rocket projectors. In comparison, Italy has 200 tanks, 6,972 armoured fighting vehicles, 164 self-propelled artillery, 92 towed artillery and 21 rocket projectors. Within its air force there would be 205 fighters, 209 attack aircraft and no attack helicopters, while Italy has 79 fighters, 185 attack aircraft and 59 attack helicopters. The country wouldn't have access to any aircraft carriers, but would have 14 frigates, 11 submarines, 9 corvettes, 46 patrol ships and 41 mine warfare ships. Italy has 2 aircraft carriers, 14 frigates, 4 destroyers, 4 corvettes, 7 submarines, 10 patrol ships and 10 mine warfare ships. If we combined the country's GDP, the country would be the 13th richest nation in the world with 1.4 trillion, above the countries of Spain and Australia. The country would also have a large amount of natural resources. Norway has a large access to petroleum, and in 2011 Greenland, which is part of the Danish kingdom, earned 392 million in taxes from oil exploration. The biggest cities would be Helsinki, Oslo, Copenhagen and Stockholm, and of course with a new country there needs to be a capital. It's likely Copenhagen would take the seat, as it was originally the capital during the Kalmar Union. The country would also need to decide whether to have a monarchy or become a republic. 3 out of the 5 nations have monarchs today, so it's likely this new nation would still install a king or queen. The country would be able to attract many tourists, given its natural beauties with sites like the Norwegian fjords, the Northern Lights, Iceland's amazing geysers, some spectacular glaciers and Viking history. It would probably be named the happiest nation in the world, as Norway, Finland and Denmark have all been named as the happiest nations in the world in recent years. In the ideal world, this union is very unlikely to happen, but leave your comments below and share your thoughts and what topics you might like to see next. These videos would not have been made possible if not for Fletch Tech, so check him out in the description below or click here to subscribe.